What's up, interwebs? My name is Topher Cross, and I'm here to give you an honest review of the game known only as Space Ninjas. Well, at least it should be. In this review, we're going to talk through the good and bad things about Warframe. Warframe is a free-to-play, third-person online shooter made by Digital Extremes. In Warframe, you play as Tenno, a lost warrior race with a vague history that takes control of sentient, organic suits called Warframes. Each Warframe has its own special abilities and stats that you use to fight one of three factions, the Grineer, the Corpus, or Infection, and sometimes even other Warframes, in an attempt to keep your race alive and keep Lotus, aka Space Mom, happy. I am going to start this review by talking about what makes Warframe so fun to play. First, the actual Warframes you get are very appealing on their own, and provide a great variety of options for you to choose from to suit your personal playstyle. Whether you are a damage dealer that only wants to use melee weapons, a tank that wants to shoot everything in sight while taking infinite amounts of damage, or a sniper that wants to lay low, or maybe an invisible assassin that enemies can never see coming, this game has it. Each Warframe sports 4 abilities that are unique to them. For instance, Volt, a starter Warframe in the game, specializes in electricity attacks and has abilities that shock enemies, makes you run faster, and makes electric shields, while a Warframe like Rhino can charge through enemies and take tons of damage without flinching with abilities such as Rhino Charge and Iron Skin. With 20 plus Warframes to choose from and still more coming, you'll never run out of options. And the best part is you can have multiple Warframes, so you're not limited to one playstyle or strategy. But that's just the tip of the customization iceberg. Each Warframe can hold 3 weapons, a primary, a secondary, and a melee weapon, and each Warframe and each weapon can be customized with the use of mods, which include things like Rush, which makes you run faster, Pressure Point, which makes you hit harder, or Continuity, which makes your Warframe abilities last longer, just to name a few. But there are hundreds of mods that you can choose from for almost unlimited variety. You can also customize your Warframe's color, weapon color, and even your energy color to make the frame feel like your very own creation. And there are even alternate skins and weapons to Warframes. Another thing that makes this game so fun is the addicting gameplay. Newcomers and veterans to third-person shooters will feel at home here due to the game's easy-to-learn, hard-to-master gameplay. Shooting and swordplay in this game feels very refreshing, bringing things like classic third-person shooting and blending it seamlessly with melee combat, Warframe abilities, and Warframe's Parkour System. The Parkour System in Warframe is extremely smooth after years of trial and error updates and easy to learn. After about 2 hours with the game, you'll be jumping and climbing buildings like a true ninja, feeling really badass along the way while leveling your Warframe. And I have to give this game credit. There's a lot of grinding and leveling in Warframe to gain levels and get good items, but it rarely feels like a chore. And considering how much leveling and grinding for items you do as a space ninja, that's a good thing. Fast-paced missions and alerts keep you from having to spend too much time actually looking for most items you will need for making weapons and Warframes. And for the items that will take a while, you can always use Warframe's great trading system. You can literally trade any item in the game, which is extremely helpful when you're having a particularly hard time finding something specific, making trading a very useful tool. Lastly, the game receives constant updates and fixes, and has a team that pays a lot of attention to everyday problems, which is great, and means if there's server issues or any other problems, they will be fixed ASAP. However, Warframe, like any other game, is not without its drawbacks. The game has roughly 20 mission types for you to do, but it seems to overly rely on 3 or 4 because most of them are similar, either having you sneak into an area, defend an area, or simply kill a bunch of enemies while following your minimap to complete the objective, making missions very repetitive when doing a bunch in succession, or if you have been playing the game for a while, making you wish for more. Also, the game relies on very similar map builds per planet, sometimes even having you play the exact same map in a row, which isn't very fun if you plan on playing more than a few hours in one sitting. And like most free-to-play games, Warframe has a microtransaction system, which normally wouldn't bother me because that's how free-to-play games make their money. The problem is the way they go about it. In Warframe, there are 2 main types of currency: credits, which is the in-game currency, and platinum, which is the premium currency that you pay money for. This sounds good in theory, but a lot of the game revolves around platinum. If you want to trade for good items, you will need platinum, and if you want to rush build items, you use platinum. If you don't want to pay for platinum, you'll have to grind a ridiculously long time to get your hands on any platinum through trading. And yes, you can build items without platinum, but for a weapon you'll be waiting a minimum of 12 hours to complete, and to complete a Warframe 3 days, and that's after you spend 12 hours minimum on the parts. Rushing any weapons in Warframe will cost you around 25 platinum, or roughly $1.50 per weapon, and rushing Warframes will cost you 125 platinum, or roughly $6.50. That adds up pretty quick. Lastly, there isn't much of a storyline in Warframe. There are a few cutscenes, and the rest you are expected to make out by yourself by finding items or completing quests, but even those story bits are few and far between. I'm not going to go too much into this part, however, considering the game developers are adding more story all the time. So you're probably asking right about now, is it a good game or a bad game? Because you're giving me mixed signals. Well, everything said, I think Warframe is a great game. It's not perfect, but it's addicting. The gameplay is great, the graphics are great, and the customization is extremely deep and diverse. Yes, the levels and missions are repetitive, but the amount of Warframes and builds you can customize more than makes up for it. You will play the same levels and missions, but in many different ways, which keeps the game fresh. The biggest beef I have with the game is the Platinum system, and yes, while overly expensive, you don't have to pay to get it. As for the 12-hour weapon times, it doesn't matter much as long as you use your time wisely. Have the weapons and Warframes build while you're at work or school. It's 12 hours real time, whether you're playing the game or not. As for the story, Digital Extremes works on releasing new story whenever they can, and if you take a little time to piece together the story that's in the game through findings, the lore is actually really interesting. So what's the final verdict? I give this game a 7.5 out of 10 and would highly recommend it to any MMO or shooter fan. I would say most gamers would enjoy what this game has to offer. I would recommend that you play this great game, but be warned, you might just get addicted.